A desperate architect's cartel conduct. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at an example of cartel or attempted cartel conduct here in my own profession, which frankly reeks of desperation, to be honest. So let's have a look at this. This is from the Victorian Board of Architects. So learn from my mistake. Do not engage in cartel conduct. It's funny, you know, how many, let's say, organizations are effectively cartels in how they dictate prices, wages, and influence the government. But, you know, they're allowed. So, but still, let's have a look at this. I'm assuming this pissed off some people. It would have. So, this message is published by Mr. Tony Allen, formerly Managing Director of Ashton Raggett McDougall Proprietary Limited, ARM. And they're a good firm. They do some beautiful work. Their website is terrible to navigate, but they're an artsy, high-quality architectural practice. So, by order of the Federal Court of Australia, in a proceeding brought by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, 1. I was previously the managing director of the architectural firm Ashton Raggett McDougall and was a practicing architect for over 40 years. 2. I've recently admitted that I attempted to induce 8 other architectural firms to engage in bid rigging, which is a form of cartel conduct, and have been ordered by the federal court to pay a penalty of $75,000. 3. I've lost my position, my reputation, and my involvement in a profession that I love, and my conduct will be permanently on the public record. 4. This message is being published to all registrants of the Architects Registration Board of Victoria, so that you can learn from my mistakes and the various serious consequences which have followed. And Rachel is on the Board of Architects. I think she's a non-registered member, or we've kind of scaled it back because it's been a long time since we've done work in Victoria. But as an architect, we need to be registered in every single state. It's awesome. Another cost. So this mess. Let's have a look. What I did. 5. In 2020, I was working for ARM on the first phase of the Charles Darwin University's development of a $250 million campus in Darwin's Central Business District. This first phase involved the preparation of the project master plan, a business case, concept design, and schematic design. Okay, so a fair amount of work. I had known since ARM first tendered for that work that there would be a separate tender process for the second phase of that project, involving design development, construction documentation, construction, and the defects liability phase. Now, that's quite normal on projects of this size, that you tender out each phase to make sure you get a good competitive price. It's frustrating when you've worked so hard on the first part of a project to not win the second part, but that's sad. You know, that's the way it is. 7. The university released the request for tender for the second phase on the 24th of September 2020. That afternoon, I sent an first email, to representatives of 8 other architectural firms. Each of those firms was capable of supplying architectural services of the type required for the university's project. In my first email, I asked those firms not to submit a tender for the second phase of the university's project. I wrote, "A request to you is simple. Please do not submit a tender, as we are relying very heavily on continuing with this project to keep our practice alive throughout the remainder of this strange and difficult COVID times." Oh, shit. Oh, no. This is one of the reasons why we've scaled back our practice, why it's now just Rachel and I and occasionally contractors. Because when you have a whole team of people working for you, and we had an office and staff, you need to get out there and hustle to keep the work coming in, to keep the machine fed. And that's really stressful. It's really stressful. And fortunately, I tell you, I was so happy we were already downsized. Our costs were virtually nothing when all this COVID mania hit. A few days later, on the 29th of September, so a week later, I sent an email to the representatives of those firms who had not replied to my first email and asked them to let me know whether they intended to bid. Later that afternoon, I realized, after it was pointed out to me, that I was that I was wrong to have sent the first and second emails. I sent a further email to everyone I had sent the first email to and wrote, ARM retracts this email and wishes to restore the competitive tendering process for this project. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused. Okay, so shit, you have to get really desperate to stuff up like this, don't you? I mean, I'm trying to think of circumstances where I've encountered similar things in my profession. No, not really. I just get emails back from project managers saying, you're too expensive. See, I don't need this to be too expensive on jobs. I just am, which kind of sucks when you're basing your fee calculations on having like no overheads. Anyway, damn, I never set out to contravene the law, and it did not occur to me when I sent the first and second emails that I was doing anything wrong. Really? Asking people not to bid on a job? Facing the many challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, I was motivated to try retain work for my staff. Yeah, okay, so they were probably bleeding money like anything during COVID. However, what I did was an attempt to induce the other firms to engage in bid rigging with ARM. My motivation, reaction, and apology did not change that fact. Attempting to induce other firms to engage in bid rigging contravenes Australia's competition law because it involves an attempt to induce others to engage in cartel conduct. There are very serious consequences for this sort of conduct. Yeah, unless you're the government and can do that, but that's kind of different, isn't it? Okay, so the ACCC found out what had taken place and began an investigation. The ACCC required me to attend an examination to give evidence on oath about my conduct. In addition, I resigned from ARM. I've not worked as an architect since. Bugger. And do not expect that I ever will do so again. On September 16th, in September 22, the ACCC then issued civil proceedings to the federal court against both ARM and me personally. 17. I agreed at the earlier stage of the proceedings to admit that I had attempted to induce 8 other firms to engage in bid rigging conduct and to pay a substantial penalty. Although this penalty took into account my financial circumstances, it will take me up to 18 months to pay it. Being involved in the ACCC investigation and federal court proceedings, which had occurred over a total period of 19 months, had also taken a significant personal toll on me. I kind of feel sorry for this guy, because he's trying to keep his firm going, and he's probably just made a stupid bloody email. How many people do you reckon would have, how many builders tendering on jobs would have this conversation over drinks? Guaranteed, But, actually, no, I have encountered it where what I've encountered was ex-government employees leaving, setting up their own practices, and then getting work straight away. Pretty much non-competitive. That's how I've seen it. Oh, and that pissed me off something chronic too. Bloody hell. But there you go. That's how it is. The ACCC's proceedings against me was a civil proceeding. However, attempts to induce others to engage in cartel conduct, including bid rigging, can also be prosecuted criminally, with penalties including potential imprisonment as described below. Oh shit, I hope he doesn't go to jail for this. I made a very serious mistake by attempting to induce other firms to engage in bid rigging, and this has had serious consequences for me. I've lost my position, my reputation, and my involvement in a profession that I love. Do not do what I did. Learn from my mistakes. Whatever pressure you may be under, and whatever motivation you may have, do not attempt to induce others to engage in cartel conduct. I mean, this is, honestly, I would say this is an argument for why we bring back the fee scale. So, the law on cartel conduct. The ACCC website provides information about cartel conduct. The following is a summary. The laws about cartel conduct are in the Competition and Consumer Act 2010, which applies to all corporations in Australia as well as individuals involved in the conduct of corporations. Cartel conduct is when 2 or more competitors agree to fix prices, which is when competitors agree on pricing instead of competing against each other. Yeah, notice how this happens entirely in our labour market, but anyway. Feels like it's happening in the housing market with the government propping up the housing sector. Engage in market sharing, which is when competitors agree to divide a market between themselves so they don't have to compete. 3. Control output, which is when competitors agree to limit the amount of type of goods and services available. Or rig bids, which includes conduct whereby competing tenders discuss and agree amongst themselves who should bid for a tender or other aspects of how they will tender. Australian competition law also prohibits conduct where a corporation or individual attempts to induce a competitor to reach such an agreement that is engaged in cartel conduct. The penalties for cartel conduct have recently increased. Individuals found to have been involved in cartel conduct in cases brought by the ACCC can now face a penalty of up to $2.5 million. Cartel conduct can also be a criminal offence, and individuals prosecuted by the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions can now face imprisonment of up to 10 years or fines of up to $550 per offence. And they've got further information there. So there you go, everyone. Let's have a talk about this. Oh boy, I mean, you'd have to be in a pretty stressed and stuffed up situation for someone with his experience to write an email like that and not realize it's illegal. I mean, it's obviously not allowed. There's the Tendering Act. I'm trying to think of circumstances, where builders probably want to go to one person or to others, and you say, well, no, under the tender, there's a standard, a Tendering Act for tendering that has to be followed. Okay, and the university has to follow by that. So this is, he's completely in the wrong here. I'm just trying to imagine how someone with his experience wouldn't realize that. It just must have been the stress of everything. He must have just gone off the rails. I don't know. Poor guy. But there you go. And you know what? Everyone who received that email, what the hell? You would have contacted the ACCC. Anyway, guys, what do you reckon? Have you encountered it in your professional life? Let me know. As always, thanks for watching. Learn from this mistake. Check out HeiseBim and Heise Does. And if you're a fan and want to support us, you can support the channel on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy a Pocket Squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.